Well, David's just been telling me some of the stuff. Have you pushed record?
Yeah, I push it just because we often forget.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, do you want to just let's kick straight into it, because this is fascinating. Like, I just can't believe your life. Actually, I just can't believe it.
Well,
I
know, and I'm here.
Yeah, like that's,
how is that possible?
Yeah, how is it possible? I think for the listeners, I don't think a lot of people understand, because I didn't. Maybe everybody does, and I'm the odd one out. Can we crack in, or do you want to do the?
We definitely should get to that. We'll do a little intro just to give a little bit of background, then Gloria.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Gloria.
The story. No need to apologise, mate.
No, I'm just. I feel like I'm just speaking to a mate. It's real weird. Hey.
Well, you are.
Cool. Okay, so today's guest is someone whose courage genuinely stops you in your tracks. Gloria Masters is a survivor of child sex trafficking, a harrowing experience that she endured for the first 16 years of her life. Her memoir, On Angel's Wings, is a gut-wrenching, powerful account of that time. Gloria has since dedicated her life to advocacy, founding the Handing the Shame Back Foundation, where she helps survivors find their voice and their healing. In this conversation, we talk about her journey through trauma, the long road to recovery, and the strength it takes not just to survive, but to rise and lead. This isn't an easy listen, but it's an essential one. Gloria, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey.
Gloria, we've sort of just touched lately on this sort of subject, but not really in depth. And so I think I, like a lot of listeners, probably really didn't understand what child trafficking is. Because you think of it like, I think of child trafficking as, you get your kids walking down the street, you get snatched off the street, then he's chucked into a plane and flown overseas, and that's it. That was always my, Jesus. So, when I went overseas with my kids, I grabbed onto them, what, do you know what I mean? That's how I saw it. I actually didn't realise until we did that ep, and then talking to you about Gloria.
Well, it's not even stranger danger, really. That's the big concern, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah. And look, hey, but first up, thank you both. It's an honour to be on the show.
Don't be silly. Don't be silly.
Inviting me. Oh, no, it's such important work, and thank you for speaking truth to light and those tough.
It's a real privilege for us to be able to give people like you the space to share their story, and our intent is that it'll touch somebody and change their lives, hopefully forever. So for people listening, Gloria, run us through as much as you'd like to about your story, what happened to you, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So look, I was born into a family, I now believe, where child sex trafficking was the norm. And the reason I say that is because my grandmother was tasked with training me to be the best child sex worker I could be, and that was from the age of 5. And what that meant was there was no kind of love felt for me. I was an object, and the more she could train me to do, and in lots of different ways, the more money the predators would pay. And so I became quite a big earner. Now, my father was the one who first abused me and then started trafficking me to groups and gangs in New Zealand, because, again, there was a lot of money to be made. Now, as well as that, there were also what we call child sexual abuse materials, as in videos and lots of photos taken as well. And they were done on the old projector reels. Remember the big old
like 8mm
thing, the tick 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 of the sound of it as it's recording, taping. Yeah, so those were made. I know there were well over 100 of those, and so up until I turned 16, my life was very much entrenched in that. As a child, I knew no different. And back in those days, you, as a child, you had no voice. You're too young, Matt, to probably remember this, but I was raised, you were seen and not heard. You didn't have a voice.
Can I just... it's so funny, like we're pretty close in age, I think. Do you mind me asking how old you are?
No, not at all. So I was born in 1960. I'm going to be 65 in about 3 weeks.
So we're pretty close.
Yeah.
Like I'm nearly 57, so 68. So same decade. But around that time, like I always remember the mantra was children are to be seen and not heard. That was it.
Right.
Like that, I remember hearing that all the time. But unfortunately for my grandparents, I was definitely heard and definitely seen. Because, like I was just loud and boisterous, and so they really didn't have. But I remember going to people's places and they'd be like, children are supposed to be seen and not heard. And I'd be like, what?
Can I just interrupt?
Sorry.
Can you take your elbow off the table?
I can.
You're just wobbling things around.
So, Gloria, from as early as you can remember, you were trafficked. So you were... like it's just so awkward to say this stuff, but you were sold into, so people were, like fornicating with you at a young, how like, what, kissing you, touching you, like all that sort of stuff from a young age?
Oh, yeah, from a very young age. So, I was trained and conditioned to perform, and that's what I did. So, no, we're talking full rape. It's child sexual abuse. So it of course involves anything and everything. So it was very frightening, as you can appreciate, and family quickly realised I was terrified, and so drugs began to be used as well, because no one wanted to pay good money for a child that was traumatised. And so they began drugging me as well.
What were they giving you, like sedatives?
Look, I'm not sure what the drug was back then, but it was a needle in the arm.
Wow.
And,
what?
And I remember actually, because there's more to the story too. Look, basically, I was left. I was just left with this monster who was my father. He didn't deserve the title. And when my parents separated, I was at the age of 11, I was left in the house with him and my brother. And then that's when the real evil began, because there was no adult to look after me. So to say every day was a living hell is understating it, frankly.
So, Gloria, your mother, when she was around the place, she was aware of what was going on, yes or no?
Well, I have to believe that's the case, because I was very, very anxious and very needy and very vulnerable, and I just didn't want to leave her side. And I know if you ask what was the biggest, the thing I most often felt from my mother was, I'm a nuisance, I'm in the way, get out of the way, sort of thing. So there was no interest there at all in protecting me or doing what good parents do.
I was going to ask you, Gloria, about the mechanisms of control, and clearly I hadn't thought of this or heard you talk about it previously, but the drugging is an obvious one. Your father was, orchestrating this entire thing, but the other thing that I guess really leaps off the page is the involvement of your grandmother. Like, I don't know why that seems worse.
Oh, that's just like, it's unbelievable.
But to what degree? She coached you, and I know that there were.
Money
abortions.
changed hands. So she got paid a commission. So the more I could do, the more they could earn. And every time more people came through, or different groups I was taken to, they could charge more, and I saw her. She was getting paid to do this work, and yeah, I think really I'm here for a purpose, really, which is to help others by shining light on this with love.
Do you think your father and your mother were born this way? Do you think there's an inherent evil in them? Do you think they were victims of abuse themselves, who, unlike you, did not choose to break the cycle? Like, how do you reconcile? Can you reconcile any of their behaviour?
Yeah, look, I hear what you're saying, and 100% agree. I'm fairly sure both my parents were sexually abused, and I know in my father's case, he was one of 4 children, and the other 3 siblings were girls, and they were made to wait on him hand and foot. They weren't allowed to eat till he'd eaten. He was sort of made to be the prince, if you like. And so what that meant was it was fairly distorted. And because my grandmother, his mother, was so complicit in me being trafficked and prepared to be sexualised and abused, it showed me, that's why I said at the beginning, I believe I was born into a family where this was normal. It was seen as normal. But yeah, the only safe place for me was school. And I remember being at school and I was out of control at school, but like you described yourself earlier, Matt, the whole, I was loud, I was attention seeking.
Yeah.
But really what I was saying, what I was trying to say was help me, see me, save me, protect me, keep me safe, don't make me go back, don't make me go back, to the point where every day I would hide in the school grounds so they couldn't find me.
So would your mum or dad come and pick you up from school every day?
No. The nuns. I'm talking the nuns at school. They couldn't lock the school gates till the children had gone, and I was always hiding because I never wanted to leave.
But nobody, this is just so bizarre that nobody, no adult, or did you have friends? Did you have you had friends? And could you? Yep. When did you start to work out that it wasn't this wasn't normal?
Well, actually, it's a good question you ask, because when my parents separated, my father said you can invite a friend round after school. And I thought, wow, this is like Christmas, because there was never any joy in my life. There was nothing I was really ever allowed to do. But I did. And then I noticed he started to, it sounds sick, but flirt with her. He started touching her. And I just froze, because I realised if this was going to continue, she was going to be raped by him. Mm. So I had a choice, and in my little 11-year-old mind, my choice was I have to end the friendship with her, because I couldn't live used. And it broke that friendship. It was so hard for me, but it broke the friendship to the point where her mother rang my father and said, "What's wrong with Gloria? Why can't my daughter be friends with? Why is she doing this to her?" And I just had to lie, because I didn't want her to be, I didn't want that on I didn't want her hurt.
Wow. And so this would have been like obviously before I was born, 65, 66, but into the 70s and the 80s. And you're at a Catholic school?
Yes.
Catholic school. And nobody picked up on this. Nobody picked up on the fact that, wow, you were acting out, that, did the parent, so were your mum and dad, were they, from the outside, I guess they looked normal?
Well, it was a good old Catholic family, like nothing to see here.
Wow.
And New Zealand's like this. We keep secrets and we sweep them under the rug, and nothing is wrong, and yet we're still high in youth suicide. We still have the rates of infanticide in the top sphere. Our child sexual abuse, I'm going to say it and people don't like me saying it, but up to 1 in 3 of our children by the time they're 16 years old will have been sexually abused. And so one of the initiatives I'm doing, that was in the New Zealand Herald yesterday actually.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Is released a global hand sign for under 16s to use to show when they're being sexually abused.
What's that? It's a hand signal.
Yeah, can you show us that?
Can you show us that?
Yeah. So you will have seen it before. It's
Like the stop.
open palm. Yep, it's that three step. Now this began in Northern America back in the beginning of COVID for women that were being domestically abused. So 2 years ago, I started. I had a different hand sign for under 16s. And a friend reached out from Northern America and said, don't recreate the wheel. That's the global hand sign for help. I need help.
Yeah.
She said, kids are being taught it. So I then just added a clause in, according to Gloria Masters, and recreated for under 16s. And guess what? It's being used across the world.
Yeah.
And it's saving kids.
So this is for our understanding. So this is something, say a kid's being spoken to by a teacher and maybe their parent or the abuser is present. The teacher can be asking, is something wrong? Are you being hurt? Or a police officer, say, for example. The child can say, no, I'm not being hurt. But they can effectively make this sign discreetly or in any circumstance.
In any circumstance, yeah.
And the teacher will be like, that's what I need. That's the true answer.
Yeah. And that's an example I've got for you. So it's taken off in the US and the UK. But in New Zealand, I've had reports of it as well. So a child as young as 7 started signing her teacher and then the principal. And so they managed to intervene and she's now safe.
So it must be like, because it, sorry?
Elbow, sorry.
Oh, sorry. It must be extremely difficult to remove children from that situation as well, because the parents would be, because I would imagine they're really good actors and they're so good at putting on a face and like hey, well, there's not, like just like you said before, there's nothing to see here. So it's a bit of a, well, not rigmarole, but it's no easy feat to get a child removed from their parents, even if all of the signs are flashing red everywhere, because we're such in a society, and I guess I don't know whether it's good or it's bad, but it's a tough one, right? Because, well, it's not really, you just pull them in and get them out, but I just actually, it's just blown me away, Gloria, that you have suffered at the hands of people that are supposed to, I can't even imagine, you can't even imagine it. Like, I look at my daughter and my son, and you just like, they're just such precious little, and they're so pure, right? Like you could grab them by the hand and they'll do anything for you. And that's the most amazing thing about having children, is you just like I'm tingling now when I talk about it, because I can see my kids and I can see other people's kids, and I just see the joy and their joy for life, right? But then to be just mistreated, like on the most horrific level, by the people that are supposed to be the ones that they can go to. So, and like my kids say to me all the time, Dad, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I say the same thing. Did you hear that? Oh, I love you, Gloria. Nah. And it wouldn't have meant anything to you anyway, right? But any affection, was there any affection, or like, so you were literally starved? Pretty
well. But yeah, and absolutely, and what do we want? We want to be loved, and we need to be as children. And so what I would do I'd seek out the softest looking pedophile in the group, and because I thought if I could make this softer looking pedophile be kind to me, he wouldn't maybe hurt me so much. The reality is I learned to put on a big false front and a mask for years. And just something, David, you said earlier, I just want to give you a couple of stats around this. 100%. Over 90% of this child sexual abuse, it's rampant across the world, as you would know, occurs by someone known to the family or the child, usually both.
It's unfathomable.
It's not stranger danger.
It's unfathomable.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to, if you don't mind, in the intro I mentioned your father sold you into a pedophile ring. And when you hear something like that, it's like headline grabbing. It's like, whoa, that I want to talk about cognitive dissonance at some point, because, you know, that's a huge part of this, you know, the discourse that goes on with the subject. But like, can you talk us through, in any way that you can, what that looks like, what it looked like for you, and trafficking, child trafficking. We hear so much about trafficking, about tunnels under Las Vegas. We hear like this dramatic side of things, that it's so extreme that people be like, that can't even be true. So we switch off, right? So what did being sold into a pedophile ring look like in reality? How did it, you know, what was that like for you? And what is child trafficking as you know it to be?
Okay, so I'll start with child trafficking because that's so simple. Child trafficking is where a child that can actually be from within the home. So my father would sometimes bring his friends into the home, and they would purchase a number, a ticket.
Oh my God.
And then it would go into like a hat or a bowl, and he would choose out the number, and that was the person that got the first go. So being trafficked from within the family home, that's a thing. So it's where a child is used for sexual services and money or goods exchange hands.
Okay.
It's that. So that's some of the experiences were within the family home. Some of them were from my grandmother's home, where people would turn up there, and I would be tied to her bed or whatever that happened to be, whatever people wanted, and men would come in and pay to have that experience. And I remember being 6 years old and looking out the window and seeing a car pull up, and noticing who was getting out of the car. But the point is that also being taken out of the family home, but thrown into, my father was a plumber, thrown into the van, and I would be driven to a building where there were groups of people. I've been leased to gangs over weekends for initiation ceremonies.
How old were you? How old were you when people were having sex with you? Do you mind me asking that? I just, like, when did you
mean when they were sexually?
Yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah. From the first, my father started getting money paid to him from probably the age of 5, and then the serious trafficking and the big money started being made when I was 6. So this is full rape of a child.
And you had no idea, like, as you wouldn't, because you're just young, you're malleable. You had no idea that you just thought that this was normal.
Well,
at that stage,
I thought it was. I was always scared, and I always felt really wrong about it, and huge shame. Yeah, and that's why I've set up the foundation, Handing the Shame Back, because that's what we as survivors feel, is the shame. Yeah. Whereas to me, we're handing it back when we speak, because it never belonged to us. We were children.
Totally.
What power do we?
So Gloria, when you realised at like 19, when did you actually get out of it? When did you escape it and say, "Hey, enough"?
16. So my parents had separated at the age of 11, and as I say, got left with my father and brother. And at the age, and of course, every second weekend and half school holidays, I would be with both parents. My mother never actually wanted me there, to be fair. She never had once protected me or taken my side in anything. But the reality was, when I was 12 and a half, I came home from school, living with my father. Early one day, nuns had had a half day or something, and I could hear laughter coming from down the hallway. So I walked down, and he's got a woman in bed with him, and I just froze and ran and I ran all the way up to my mother's house. Now, do you know why I did that? Because I thought my job was I was sleeping with my father. I was his mistress, if you like, at that age. And so to have another woman felt really, that was my job. And so for the first time in my life, my mother, when I arrived, I could hardly speak and I was shaking and crying. And she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "He's in bed with another woman. He's in bed with another woman." And I thought that was my job. And she rang the priest, and you'll appreciate this, Matt, the Archbishop of Auckland, and said, "What do I do? My daughter's just said this." And these are the words that I believe saved my life. They told her, "Get her out of that house. She's not safe to be there."
But your mum must have known what was going on. You don't reckon she did? She must have.
I think she did, but I think that the mind has a way of shutting things out, so you're not conscious of them. But look, she was an extreme narcissist. She was just it was all about her.
It's so interesting you say that, because we spoke to a woman the other day called Ella McChrystal in the UK, and she discussed her mother having been an extreme narcissist, and her father offended her, and the mother didn't throw him out and stayed with him for 30 years after the fact. So, maybe that's like a lethal combination.
So, Gloria, when you were 16, did you say, because I would imagine that you'd start working out that, hey, this is just, this is wrong. So, you must have, I'm surprised you didn't murder him.
I think if I could have, I would have. But I still was made to go back. So here I am. I get taken out of the house. You can't imagine the relief I felt at 12 and a half being taken out of the house. But there was a twist to the story, because then I was made to still go back every second weekend, half of school holidays, until I was 16. So you can imagine he's a psychopath.
Yeah.
To be able to do what he did to me. So he made me work. Did I have to work those times I was with him? And he was also very cruel. So, look...
when you say cruel, he's just he's a monster. Is he dead? He's dead, eh? Can we drag him out of his grave and give him a fucking hiding? Sorry.
Yeah.
valid.
Honestly, and what about your brother? Is he still alive?
Yes, and he's a pastor in a church.
What? Oh, my God. And so nothing ever happened to your brother? He was complicit in all of this? He was an older brother, I take it?
Yeah, and he was 4.5 years older than me, and when I was left in the house with him, he would get his friends round. So I didn't just have abuse from the adults, I had it from my brother.
He did exactly what your dad did.
He did. Funny you say that. In the book, I've got a chapter called Mini Me, and that was him. He was the Mini Me, and he became crueler. Right. I'm very lucky to be alive. I
can't believe you are alive. It's it's just amazing that you were just treated worse than a dog.
Yes, I was.
You were subhuman, not even human. You were just a piece of meat to be auctioned off. And just with no love, no light, no warmth, no caring, no empathy, no kindness, nothing.
Was there a level of dissociation that helped you survive? Because I think I've heard you mention it before, that the mind escapes what the body cannot.
Yeah, I love that. I love you've mentioned that, and yes, and I'll talk to that. So you cannot go through the level of trauma that I did for that long and stay present. So dissociation, best definition is what you just said, David. It's where the mind leaves because the body can't. So I was always out of my body. I just couldn't stay living that nightmare. And what happens is it's because it's protecting. It protects you from trauma. And liken it this way. If you've had a car accident, chances are you're not really going to remember it for a few days because your mind will block it so you can heal. And when you're being sexually abused as a child or young person, you can't stay there. It's too abhorrent. And so I think dissociation was one of my best friends, and I learned through 16 years to put on a mask. So think of a masked ball. For 16 years I had this on, and no one knew the real me, because I wasn't allowed to be the real me, because that wasn't acceptable. If I didn't smile and look like I was really happy to be raped by all these men and made to perform for all these men, then I'd be beaten. So it just wasn't worth my while. But the false self protected me. So if you were to say what was the biggest challenge I had from the age of 16 to recover from this, was to, who am I?
Yeah.
So who am I? And that was a huge job.
So how did you even come to terms, or how did you start finding out who you were? Like, how do you even go about that process? Because you would have just been naked at 16, like, wow, here I am, like, what do I do?
Well, I had this little myth that because I was safe, I would be fine. Now we can all fall about laughing. How the hell could I be fine? So I developed an eating disorder. I slept with way too many men. I drank too much. I was completely, not me at all.
You were off the rails.
Off the rails, of course.
Yeah.
And we know for a lot of survivors, especially our male survivors, and shout out to them, very hard for men to step forward with this. But they end up, doing time or doing crime or whatever, and we understand it, don't we? Because there's so much rage, and you were trapped as a child. And even today, there's this sick, toxic culture that says, well, what are you, gay? Or why didn't you stop it? Hello, I'll show you the photo of an 8-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Who's got the...
I know.
The dissociation, and this is rife through society, it goes right to the top, goes across any and all levels and strata. You're hearing more and more about female predators and pedophiles. We know that between 28 and 32% of pedophiles are women, so expect to hear a lot more about that.
Speaking to the predator side of things, and in terms of like how the system operated in your household or that network, how the hell did it operate? I know your dad was a Freemason, and there were things like, what was it, the pedophile information exchange. I've heard that spoken about before back in the day. And like, how did these people, like, was it a network where people would tip their hats to each other in the street? Was it all levels of like society, government, like there were police involved in your situation? Like, what?
Well, the reality is there's a little misnomer, because it suits the high profile ones, that this only happens in lower socioeconomic levels. No, it doesn't, because there's big money being made out of this, huge money. And when you look at trafficking, and it's something you said earlier, Matt, but I just want to address this. A child 2 streets down from you could be being trafficked as we speak. All it means is they're being taken out to someone's house, and their parent or caregiver's being paid money while they're being raped and abused. So that's what trafficking is. In fact, you know the Sound of Freedom movie, because I run a podcast which is now in 94 countries across the world.
Wow,
nice.
Congratulations. We can only dream.
Survivors. And what we know, I interviewed the executive producer of The Sound of Freedom. You would have heard of that movie.
Of course.
And I agreed that the vast majority of children that are trafficked sleep in their own beds at night.
So hang on, like, so when you say that, when people were coming into your house when you were young and your dad was trafficking you, were you having sex in your, or were they molesting you in your bed? What?
No, I'd be taken into the lounge, the lounge, because it's a predator sport as well. It's viewing. It's
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean viewing? People would watch.
Well, I mean, Oh, yeah. So,
What?
yes. Yeah.
So there's grown adults, we call them adults or animals, they're worse than animals. They're actually watching you be abused by another person.
Yeah, and then they can't wait to take their turn.
Oh my God. So, like, and that is stock standard, is it?
Oh yeah. And look, I did send you a link, David, to have a look after our interview, but my partner is Detective Inspector Scott Beard, New Zealand Police, high-profile guy. He's the guy that led the Grace Millane investigation. He's a wonderful man. And he's been helping me because with this hand sign, we want it to get bigger in New Zealand. So we've started to get interviewed. No one in New Zealand really wants to know me, by the way, because I'm a whistleblower. Oh, well.
But you know what's amazing about you, Gloria, is like it's. Were you bright at school? Were you bright?
Yeah.
So wow, because you're extremely articulate. You speak beautifully, and you look amazing. So like they must have. I just like, but you do. I'm not like. And so what blows me away just sitting here talking to you is like the woman that you have become from the horror that you came from.
I know.
Like, I mean, you're calm, you're together, it's like, you look like you've come from a really nice upbringing, but do you know what I mean? Huh?
But don't underestimate the power of the mind because, it's taken me decades to heal from this. Don't get that wrong. There were times where I didn't want to be here. Had I not been a parent, I wouldn't be. This is how dark this stuff. This is evil. We're on the other side of evil now, and to actually believe and accept that people that are meant to protect you, as you said earlier, but then choose to exploit you, make a shitload of money out of you, and do it without one thought for you is really hard to accept. But I'm here for a purpose, guys, and I'm not just a person. We all are. We're a spiritual being as well.
Yep.
And this is my purpose in life, and this is why I'm here.
Yes.
Someone like me had to get through this, so I can maybe hold a little light for those that haven't found their own.
Do you think, Gloria, that one of the biggest obstacles facing your and other survivors' paths in getting this message out is going back to a reference cognitive dissonance before, and maybe people in New Zealand can't handle hearing from you because it's too close to home? It's like New Zealand's like, that sort of thing doesn't happen in this country. That's not my neighbourhood. That's not our city. And what is this psychological phenomenon that causes good, caring, kind people to hear a story like this and go, it's too much, surely that can't be possible. It's easier for me not to believe it or discount it rather than face it, because, again, I've heard you mention you can't unknow what you know. And so once the door's opened to just the knowledge of it, like with us, there's few interviews that we've done, it's like we can't possibly sit back and not continue to talk about it.
Yeah.
No, because I'm going to be asking you to help share the hand sign. And if you know any good sponsors, help me to get it on billboards. We've got to save some kids. Let's save some kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, but this is the thing, like, say, all these children that get molested or that are trafficked or whatever, especially males, because they're getting abused by probably 60 or 70% of the time males, right? So they're being raped by, they're not gay, they're probably not gay, they're being raped by gay, it's just horrendous. And then they go on to just explode, they commit crime, they end up in the prison system, they cost society so much money. Like, I mean, just imagine, and the stats are out there, because remember our old mate
Sam Troth.
Yeah, Sam. We had really deep. Do you know Sam?
Yeah.
So he like for him to tell his story, like, because he's a proper bloke, and to come out and say the things, that he's spoken from the heart and from his gut and his soul and his true being is not easy to do, right? So I have the utmost respect for him. But, just the devastation that it must cause society and the money that we waste, herding all these people into jails when really they're in jail because they're just screaming out for help, right?
Well, of course they are. And, it's an interesting one because over 85% of rehabs across the world are full of people who have experienced child sexual abuse. It's at its core. We know that over 55% of prisons have this at their core. We know that suicides, someone who has experienced child sexual abuse is 10 times more likely to take their own life than anyone else. And the cost, as you say, is phenomenal. We need to get to the prevention point. We need to get to protection prevention. So
but we know all this. But we know all this. So what is it that's stopping? Like, why? There must be somebody, or there's a layer of people who are in power that are stopping this information getting out. That are it's like, we used to do telethons.
Yes, I remember that.
Remember we used to do telethons, and we were like, we'd get that, like, why isn't there just this massive movement to go, hey, enough? But actually nobody talks about it, because when you think, I'd like to think that I'm a reasonably intelligent person, but for me, I think of the trafficking, straight away I go, you're getting snatched off the street, somebody grabs you, throws you in a van, to the airport, and then
Honduras 2 days later.
That's what I think, and I'm like, it can't happen that often, right? But I had no idea that it's just prevalent throughout society and in your home. Like, I didn't know that. So if I don't know that, shitloads of people don't know that, right?
But don't you think so much more of the problem is, even before you get to that stage, people are switching off and not wanting to hear about it? So it's maybe there are institutions that are preventing it coming out. Maybe there are corrupt systems, but I do think a lot of the time people are like, I won't read that headline because it's I don't want to think about something like that, or I'll switch the channel, or like the only way that I think people will come to face and deal with it is by just hearing more and more of these stories shared and it becoming normalized, because people don't think it's normal. People don't think it happens as much as it does. You can hear a statistic, but until you have a face there talking about it, it's very different. Do you disagree, Matthew?
No, it's not that I don't disagree. I'm just saying, like, why is it this is not out there? Or like, why is it? So it must be, there's a level of, in society, whether it be governmental or whatever, I don't know, but there's, that you hear all these things about the elites and all this sort of stuff, but there must be a level where they're like, there's doctors, lawyers, lawmakers, that are going, nah, we've got to keep this down. No, we don't want to send this out into the media. We don't want to be talking about it. We've got to keep it on the down low. But
it doesn't sell, like breast cancer.
But it doesn't matter that it doesn't.
AIDS. No, I know it. No, it doesn't matter.
But who gives a shit? Like breast cancer, AIDS.
Because the problem sits with
compared to this stuff. I don't reckon it's.
But you're not listening to me. The problem sits with the public who don't want to have an appetite for that sort of thing. They can put it out there as much as they want to, but if the people are turning their heads away and they don't want to see it because it's unsightly or unseemly, they're not going to, pick up arms and fight back against it. That's my thinking anyway.
Well, no, I just reckon, like, you got to, if it's not getting in the papers, it's not getting in media, it's not any of those things. But now it's started, because now with the way we're talking about things on podcasts and all that sort of stuff, you can talk about this stuff openly, honestly. Nobody can control us. It's okay. So there's a change in the way we get stuff out there. Whereas before, when it was all just television stations, media, newspapers, all that sort of stuff, controlled by certain people, right?
Yeah, but you can't deny what we were talking about before. The cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, I get that, but
do you agree, Gloria? I mean, you know so much more about this than we possibly ever could. What's your take on our little division?
Okay, so I actually think you're both right. I think there is a level of, there's something not right when we've got this, as I call this, the silent epidemic. This is huge across the globe, and yet it still continues. There's no big drives from any country anywhere to make this front and centre. If this was motor vehicle accidents, there would be billion-dollar campaigns with the amount of children that are being impacted. So I agree with you, Matt. I think at the very top, because of course pedophiles are everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think at the top there's enough to have an invested interest in keeping that going. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a stat in a minute about that. That it doesn't suit the narrative for this to actually get too much attention. But I 100% agree with you, David. I think there is this people stop wanting to know because it goes against their ethics, values and morals, but that the only group this serves are the predators, because this is done in silence. If you think about it, a child is taken away and abused quietly, and they're threatened or they're manipulated and warned to never speak of it, so children will obey that adult. So, yeah, I think you're both right. I think most good people refuse to speak about it, but my plea and my call to people is, please, we're only serving the pedophiles. Let's serve the children.
So
Exactly.
how do we, Gloria, how do we change that? Like it seems to me, like, and I don't want to be the negative one here, is it's going to take a huge shift in human consciousness, right, in order for us to go, because if it's permeated right through society, throughout the world, right? Okay, clearly. So for the people that are actually doing it, it's normal. They don't see an issue in it, right? Because clearly they don't, right? But for the people like us who are normal, that haven't been molested, that have grown up in in loving, caring, normal homes, we look at it and go, oh, I don't look at it and go, I don't want to talk about it. I look at it and go, well, what the hell can we do about it? I don't want to go, I'm not like, oh, that's a bit too, okay, well, because it's not happening to me, I'm not going to worry about it. Like, I want to go, okay, where do I go? What walls do I bust down? Who do I see?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm so glad you asked that. Great question. So my third book is Keeping Kids Safe. It's in every school in our country. And the reason it's in every school in our country is because I was doing a podcast in the UK, and a US survivor happened to see it. And I said, my wish is to get this in every school in the country, because we've got to start educating people on what to do, what to look for, and then the action they need to take. We've got to start teaching kids body safety rules,
yes,
how to say no, etc. And so this US person saw it and donated all this money, so it's now in every school in our country.
Wow.
My next is to get it in every early childhood centre. Can you imagine if we got the under fives in our country?
Exactly. And then getting people to actually teach it, right? Because like
that's it.
Yeah, I am my kids. I always say to my kids, we're talking to Sam about the other day, like I drill them. I go, hey, that is yours. That's your penis.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's your vagina. Like my daughter's like, she's just turned 5 and Kenzo's 7. And I'm like, no, it's not your wee. And anybody touches that, you're the only person to touch it. Anybody else touches that, you come and tell me, and you tell them, nah, right? And that's it's only basic, but
it's basic, but it's also, unless you know about it, like Sam was telling us how you have to use words like penis and vagina, so then when it comes down to being cross-examined by a lawyer, they could dismiss, it's a woo-woo or whatever, and say, well, that couldn't, maybe that's not...
Sorry to interrupt, but you'd like to think that if you're telling your kids, if a paedophile comes at you and you go, and I'm a little kid, and I go, hey, mate, you can't touch that, that's my penis, buzz off. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
He's going to go, oh, shit, right? Like, he's not going to...
Hey, but now, I'm going to cut you off because thank you both. Last week... over in Queensland, they did some research on pedophiles who are incarcerated, and one of the questions was, had they abused every child they came into contact with where they could, 86% of them said no. And the reason they didn't abuse that child or the children they could have is because that child put up resistance.
Yes.
No, you're not. No. And that's my body. It's not for you. And pushed back. So I'm here to say anyone who ever says education and teaching this stuff isn't going to work, I'm sorry, you're wrong, because it does.
100%. Because like I know what it's like. You've seen, when Lola kicks off. Like my daughter, she's 5. She's frightening.
Where did she get it from?
She's like, mate, if you touch it, she'd be like, "Hey, get your hands off me!" And you'd be like,
Good.
Yeah, but. And then, like Kenzo, he'd be like, "Hey, mate, can't do that," But that's the thing. But if they don't know, if they're not told, and okay, sure, it's an awkward conversation. And it's like the birds and the bees story. It's like we're all sexual beings, right? That's why I don't have an issue with if my kids come in and if you're having sex or whatever, or to me it's not like it's a hide it thing. It's a natural thing that we do, right? So it should be a natural thing that we talk about our bodies, and that there's this is your body and it is yours alone. And that is it. It's nobody else's to touch. Mum and Dad don't touch you down there. You go to you wash yourself. We do all that stuff. You teach them how to clean themselves, and you make sure you do it. And say, hey, we don't touch them there. So that's theirs, and that's the sort of thing that we've got to get through. And it's not. It's even just in school. The teacher goes, hey guys, we're going to have a little bit of healthy body connection today. Right, okay, and just a little, like a 5-minute session once a week even. Do you know? It's that simple, because kids take in the stuff, right? They're like just little sponges, but if you don't say anything to them, they don't get it.
But in order to educate a child, you've got to educate the educator or the parent, right? And
but that's not that hard, is it? Surely.
Well,
you would think so, but you wouldn't think so, but it is, Matt. People don't do it. And the other thing I just want to point out, guys, is this, with respect. It's not just about people touching their private parts. It's not, and this is all in the book. The module on this is being made to touch themselves in front of an adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Watching a grown man or woman masturbating, being made to view child sexual abuse materials as in pornography. These things equally, they need to be taught. No.
Okay,
so then you would then say, well, how would you not know about that? We all need to be educated.
Yeah, no,
right?
we do. We do. See, because I just didn't think that it was that monstrous out there. That I could not imagine, it's just like I can't. I actually cannot believe some of the things that you've told me today that you've suffered in your life that happens across the world on a daily basis to millions of people. And we wonder why we've got issues.
Well, of course. And then the other thing is, as I told you guys, my partner, he was also, they looked at stats as well. Up to 85% of men and women who look at child sexual abuse materials online then go on to search for, seek out, procure and abuse a child.
Wow.
Speaking of technology,
wow, it's just so sick.
I keep reading or hearing more and more about these online connected games that kids are playing these days, and pedophiles are seeking out children through these apps. Something super innocuous that a child could be playing, and you're communicating with another player or a team of other players. Your child, 5 or 6, could be speaking to some dirty old pedophile, and who knows where. Like how do
dirty young pedophile.
Well, just a dirty pedophile.
Yeah.
But how do parents look out for that sort of thing? Like with technology, it's going to come more and more means of prevention, but also more and more means of abuse.
Well, that's right, and it's a really good point that you raised. So If, I don't know if you're a dad as well, David, but
No.
Matt, for you,
Yeah.
just get like in New Zealand we have it net safe. There will be, depending on where you are, other providers, but what they do is they put into your computer software blocks so that the children can't be accessing games or apps where there are known predators. And look, I'm not saying we're always going to get it right, but at least if you're informed enough to be able to do that, then they can't.
Yeah.
And we know that sextortion is a big thing as the children get older, which is, you know, it's as young as 9 and 10. Take a photo of yourself. So they're innocently playing a game. They think they're playing with another 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Take a photo of yourself. Oh, take your top off and take a photo. Send it through.
Wow.
Now, already your child's feeling uncomfortable, so they'll do it. They do it.
Yeah.
But then what happens is back comes, this is a sextortion from these predators, and these are gangs of predators, by the way, who go, well, if you don't either get another child to do the same thing or pay us X amount of money, we're going to send it to your parents, we're going to send it to your family, we're going to send it to your school. And we've got young people in our country, and probably yours, who take their own lives because they can't handle it. Now, that's just what... So, guys, this is bigger than anything. We haven't seen nothing yet. We've got these groups across the world, and they've infiltrated New Zealand. So there's two I'm going to tell you about. One is called 2x2s, if you Google them. We've got survivors in New Zealand. Now, we've got a member of the National Party who's linked to this.
What?
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. These people they're infiltrated in all levels of society. So you
can't mention their name?
Oh, if you go, I can't remember his name offhand, but if you Google 2x2's New Zealand National Party MP, you'll see who it is.
Wow.
We've got, we've got another group. I think they're. I'm just trying to think. 742 or something it's called, and this is a group that being investigated and currently trying to be shut down by the FBI. And these groups are targeting children as young as 7, and they're getting them to do heinous things, satanic ritual abuse, harming other children, live streaming stuff, and actually ending up carving the number into their own body. So this is how sick and prevalent this is.
Well,
hey, Gloria, what's his name?
Yeah.
What's his name?
It's in the Herald.
Hamish Campbell, associated with 2x2s.
Religious sect.
Let's have a look at this piece of shit.
Well, you don't know what it's
Who
saying.
cares? He's screaming out, look at me.
Hang on. Is associated with an underground religious group currently investigated by the FBI in New Zealand for child abuse that has been revealed.
Hey, Gloria, can I
ties to the religious group.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How did you manage when you broke away? How did you work out and come to terms with the stuff that had happened to you, but then move into a normal life and healthy relationships? How long did it take you to feel safe and secure and trust and know that clearly the guy that you're with now, Mr. Beard, what's his name? Scott Beard.
Google.
How many relationships did you move through before you actually, you popped out the other side and you're a spiritual being and you're in touch with that side of things? But how long did it take for you to actually start feeling like, okay, how long was it? Like
forever.
Yeah, you're still working through it.
Work.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm very grateful. I'm with Scott, and he's my person. He's incredible.
So how cool is that?
But I had to be with someone.
How cool is that, though?
Someone. I know.
I mean, that you found your person, like, because we all like looking for our person. Like, you think you get one, and then that's just not your person. We're all like, and you're so jammy if you find your person. Hey.
Well, I don't know if you'd call me Jamie.
No, you deserve to find your person. You deserve it. That's so good.
I know. But my first 2 marriages were shite, and all I'll say to that is this: how could I possibly attract good, healthy, functioning men when my whole childhood and teenage life had been conditioned to be a sex slave and be subservient and object? How could I?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, wow.
I'm a slow learner, but I've learnt now.
I was a pretty slow learner too. It's taken me like since I was 55 I started working it out. Hey, hopefully it doesn't take my kids that long to work it out. Holy hell. Oh, look, is there anything else we can say? Because I could go on and on about this. And it's not a comfortable topic to talk about, but it's something we need to get comfortable with talking about it. We need it out there. More people need to talk about it. A lot more people that are doing podcasts need to talk about this stuff.
But the people need to listen too. You can
that's
talk
true.
all you want. People
That's true.
Listen.
That's true. But like, I think, Gloria, the work that you're doing, especially with the signage stuff and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, let's run through that one last time.
No, so it's like that, and that, isn't it?
So, yeah, that.
Yeah, that. Mate, if I see that, somebody pulls that out to me, I'm just going to run and pick them up and go, start swinging. Where is he? Where is she? Yeah. But, you know, like, take me to them right now. Imagine I come pouring through the door. Hey, they'd set themselves like, Sorry. I do get a bit excited.
What was in that coffee?
The answer is in education. We've got to educate. You're right, David. We have to educate the safe adults. There's many more of us out there who are safe and who can look out for children. And all I'll say is this: if you even teach one child this, you don't know. Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, Gloria, like, honestly, it's been an absolute privilege, and thank you so much for sharing your story and for being so, you know, just completely deep, honest,
candid,
and candid. It's really, really, like, you're doing some amazing work, and this is your life purpose. And so, how lucky are you? You've been extremely unlucky, but a lot of people go through their life and they don't find their life purpose, and a lot of people go through their life and they don't find their person, right? So you've found your purpose and your person.
That's nice.
Cool. I reckon it's pretty cool, and you deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. And when I saw you before, when you came on the screen before, like, you are just you absolutely glow. It's a real, you know, you should be really proud of yourself. I'm real proud of you, and I don't even know you.
We do now.
I do now, yeah, but hey, thank you, Gloria. It's been a real treat, a real privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a real honour.
Okay. Oh.